Well, thank you for the opportunity to participate in the WorkSafe's webinar series. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Heather Kimber from the Health and Safety Association of New Zealand, Hazardous, and I'm here today to present jointly with Associate Professor Ian Laird from Massey University and Ali Marshall from the Skills Organisation. We're presenting an update and overview of the Compliance Certifiers Workforce Development Initiative, give an overview of the origins of the project and progress so far. So why do we have a Workforce Development Compliance Certifier project? And I know some of you may have heard this before, but I think it's important to recap, and also for people who may be new to the industry to understand where the project came from, its goals and the progress to date. So back in 2019, there was a significant piece of analytic work done that identified the current and future demands in health and safety professionals in New Zealand. And it was within this work that the hazardous substances compliance certifier profession was identified with specific pipeline issues. And what we mean by that is that the critical mass of compliance certifiers is becoming less. Their end of their working life, there is a lot of retirement in the industry, and there's less supply coming in at the beginning of the profession to fill the supply demand. On top of this, we have an increase in business demand. This has been associated with changes in regulation and the demand for compliance certification. So essentially, this is also putting pressure on the industry to provide those services. There's also a limited number of certifiers have formal health and safety qualifications. Around half have a bachelor's level qualifications. So this work identified a significant gap in an education framework, leading to a lack of training and education pathways. So currently there is no competency framework or defined career pathway for compliance certifiers. There is some training available, but it's quite informal and quite ad hoc. And of course, the last point being there's a lack of understanding and awareness of the profession itself. What does a compliance certifier do? How do you get into the industry? And how can you have a long career as a compliance certifier? So those are the main reasons why the project exists. It's a very collaborative project. Hassan's been working with WorkSafe, who is the funder of the project, to further understand these challenges. And within that, we have a tri-partnership between industry representatives, tertiary sector and education expertise to collaboratively work on the elements for its delivery. So we have industry representatives from, you can see there, our main partners of the associations, New Zealand Institute of Safety Management and Hazardous Substances Professionals in New Zealand Institute of Hazard Substances Management. We also have partnered with Massey University, and you'll be hearing from Associate Professor Ian Laird soon about the new foundation courses that Massey University are offering. And we've also partnered with Skills, who are providing the education expertise as we go through development of the project. So what are the main goals of this project? There are two. The first is to develop an education and training pathway program for compliance certifiers to address the gap that I've just outlined before in the previous slide, and to fill the gap for a learner journey in compliance certification. We also want to attract new people into the profession to become competent and qualified. And this relates to the previous slide about the attraction into the industry. People don't know about it. How do you get into it? What is a day in the life of, and where you can go with it in your career? This also can be targeted for people who are maybe recently into the workforce, or people who are health and safety professionals and wish to shift their career into a different sector. So part one outcome of the attraction, we call the attraction to compliance, becoming a compliance certifier, is we developed a couple of promotional videos. So thanks to Cam and Elizabeth, I think your colleagues volunteered you, but thank you for volunteering to be part of the video. And the purpose of these videos is to provide some real tangible visuals about explaining what it is to be a compliance certifier, what are the skills that you need, and maybe pique people's interest into them. I'll just play the first few seconds of this video so you can understand where they've come from. So thanks to Cam for that cameo performance, but feel free to share these videos. They're on the Hassan's website as well as the other associations' website for anyone who may be interested. It's a start anyway. I'm going to hand over to Ellie now, who's going to explain the update of the training pathways and the competency framework so far that we've developed. Over to you, Ellie.
Great, thanks Heather. And so for those of you who were at the conference last year, we did a presentation then and we talked about progress to date. And we would have talked about the competency framework. But for those of you who weren't there last year, let's get you up to speed on where that's at. So one of the first tasks that we had within this project was to form a competency framework. And that really was about mapping out the competencies that were required for someone to be a good certifier. So what are the knowledge and the skills and the behaviours that are required? And that was really the first and probably one of a really critical step in understanding what learning and assessment needed to occur for someone to acquire those skills and knowledges. So we did identify that there was a gap in the foundation knowledge of hazardous substances, and we developed a training program that outlined what it was that someone was required to be able to learn to meet those competencies. And from that, recognised that there probably was a lot of great stuff already out there, and set about going about finding where that might be, which led us to Ian and Massey, and he's going to talk about that more shortly. But in short, we've got two Massey University Foundation papers in play that address quite a few of the learning outcomes that we identified within that training program. Another really big part of this is the specialist modules, which I'll talk about more shortly, but that was more around identifying what particular skills or knowledge was required to be able to audit and to be able to provide compliance certifier services for particular classifications. And again, I'll talk about that in more detail shortly. So Heather, if we go to the next slide. Cool. So what we're looking at here is a bit more of a high-level overview of the compliance certifier education training pathway. So it's a really high-level overview of what it might look like, and now we've identified what needs to be taught, trained. We've commenced work on addressing that. So first off, as I said, and Ian's going to talk more about this in a moment, but we have worked quite closely with Ian and his team, and it was very, very clear quite quickly on that 251.72, the occupational health and safety course, did cover a lot of the learning outcomes that we were looking for. And this is a program that's already in existence and in play. And then work with Ian to develop the special topic course. So the idea is that someone will enrol and complete these courses as the start of their learner journey on the pathway to gaining the skills and knowledge that a compliance certifier will need. From there, then they would specialise, and then that's around the classifications and the specialist learning modules. And within those courses, again, I'll talk to that shortly as well. You know, they will complete some learning and then undertake some assessment. So, you know, these modules have been designed to just bridge and complete the picture in terms of what someone will need to be able to provide those services around a classification. Probably also of point is that the hazardous substances specialist learning modules, it might actually be someone, anyone can pick those up if they want to increase their knowledge and interest in this particular area. So that could be someone who's already a compliance certifier who would like to just expand their knowledge, or it could just be someone who wants to gain some more knowledge within this area. So I'll hand over to Ian now, Heather, and get him to talk about what's in the Massey papers.
Great, thanks, Ali. Kia ora koutou. I'm Ian Laird and lead the Occupational Health and Safety program at Massey University. The two courses that Ali mentioned, are fundamental courses to the Certificate of Proficiency, which these two courses make as the fundamental courses for this framework. The first course, 251.272 Occupational Health and Safety 2, is a fundamental course within a range of OHS qualifications at Massey University, and it covers the nature and effects of chemical hazards commonly encountered in the workplace, a detailed understanding of hazardous substance legislation and control strategies, fire and explosion prevention and control, and other common exposures, including noise, vibration, and other physical and biological hazards. The course requires completion of 3 assignments, and it has a final examination. The second course, 250.318, a special topic, is a course designed specifically for this program. It provides a detailed and practical introduction to hazardous substance management for those wishing to develop skills and experience as hazardous substances compliance certifiers. The course covers a knowledge of hazardous substances in industry, the role of the compliance certifier, hazardous substance tools and resources in the workplace, and preparing for a hazardous substance audit and hazardous substance on-site inspection, which are critical to the role. The course requires completion of 4 assignments, which are all accessible online. In terms of the sequence of the courses, the 200 level course, 251.272, is a prerequisite for the 300 level course, 250.318. And the 200 level course is at this stage offered in semester 2 each year. That's from July through to November. And the special topic course, the 300 level course, is offered in semester 1 from February through to June the following year. I'll hand back to Heather. Thanks.
Great, so I think I'm picking up here, Heather, right? Great. Just to continue on, I was mentioning the specialist courses that are available to a candidate after they've completed the Massey papers. So let's just talk about that in a little more detail here. So pretty much, and I'll use classes 6 and 8 just as an example, just so we've got something to talk to along the way. So what will happen is a candidate will sign up online to the course, and then they'll complete that module online, and it's self-paced. And then there will be obviously some quizzing and some theory in there, and some theoretical assessment as well as part of that course. Upon successful completion of that course, then they'll go on to complete an applied assignment, which is then marked by an assessor. So the practical, we heard from industry, it came through very, very loud and clear that the practical element, replicating that practical experience is really important. So what we're doing is developing a whole lot of assignments, if you like, that are based around a realistic work situation. And people need to work through the process of actually completing the audit. on that hypothetical theoretical workplace. So we are looking to roll out the first module by early next year. We are working on the hazardous substances that will form each module. It's all being finalised now. And just a heads up that, you know, obviously someone could complete classes 6 and 8, and they might come back later on and complete stationary containers if they chose to. So that kind of talks to what I was speaking of before, where, you know, someone can come in and keep expanding their knowledge across a particular specialisation or classification as they continue on in their career. So I think that probably is my piece, Heather. I'll hand back to you.
Yes, thanks, Ellie. Thanks, Ellie and Anne for that. So that's our presentation. And wrapping up, I hope it gives you a good overview of where this initiative has come from and progress to date. All our contact details are on the slide, and specifically for the foundation courses for Massey, please contact Ian directly. He's handling all those inquiries. And as Ellie mentioned, as timelines go, we're looking to roll out the first module early next year as a bit of a pilot. But if you have any questions in the meantime, please get a hold of myself or Ellie, and we're happy to answer them. So in conclusion, thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your seminar series in this rollout of webinars. Thanks very much.